10 seconds.
Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги.
Good day, dear colleagues and guests of the Press Center of Russia. Today, I'm glad to welcome you at our platform, and I'm happy to announce the beginning of our press conference on the results of the Civic Forum of BRICS. Our guest today, Victoria PANOVA, co-chairman of Russian BRICS Group on BRICS and G20, head of Expert Council of BRICS, pro-rector of Higher School of Economics. Alena PERYSHKINA, co-chairperson of the Russian NGO on BRICS and G20. Ray Fadeev, co-chairman of the working group of Vision 2050, Values and Rights of Peoples, advisor to the President of Russian Federation, chairman of the Council under the President of Russian Federation to develop Russian society and human rights. Good day. Co-chairperson of the working group for Information and Digital Security, professor of the Rio Grande University, member of the research group NABRICS, Fabiana Milnichuk, Brazil. Good day. Co-chairperson of the working group of ecology, energy transition and social equity, head of the general director on the Office of Civic Organizations, Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Physical Amara. Good day. And founder and the executive of the South Africa Association of Youth, Edward McLeod. Good day. So I've introduced all these esteemed speakers. Of course, we want to give the floor to them. Ms. Panova, the first word of introduction for you. Thank you very much. Thank you to RIA Novosti for holding such press conference, because in my view, it's very important. It's very important for our society also. People abroad will be aware of what we are doing, what kind of work is being carried out by the civil society. Incidentally, it's not for the first year at all. As you know, this format was launched under Russian chairmanship back in 2015. So the anniversary 10th year, we're meeting up. Even though it's the 9th forum, we did miss one forum in one of the countries for objective reasons. But despite this missing out on one, we did introduce our colleagues from Ryan, FPANA. These are people we've known for a long time who have been devoting their energy and hearts and souls to BRICS and towards achieving positive effects for their respective civil societies. This is a very important point. It's not just being a principle of BRICS, but it's one of the key points for associations. We're all putting our hearts into this and really believe in what we're doing. So this is a very equitable partnership without imposing any kind of stereotypes, without imposing any kind of approaches on anybody's side, regardless of the size of a country or its political structure or scale of economy. It's very important that we have disputes. We are different. Incidentally, within the framework of this forum, we were making preparation for the chairmanship of the 9 working groups. You mentioned some of the chairpersons of some of these groups. And of course, the debates were quite heated, sometimes very heated, especially some of our countries are countries from the south that only added to the heat of the discussions. And then it's clear that not all maybe suggestions or wishes of each side were taken into account. But what's important for our group, besides equity, is the principle of consensus. We're not supposed to impose to our partners, suppose what we want and our partners don't want. We're not playing the hegemon. We're not USA. We don't want to be like this. What's important for us is equitable interaction with our partners. We are friends. We are family. And we accept each other as we are. Which is why, for example, there may be some suggestions that maybe that were not taken into account from each side. We are aware of those, and we are going to continue our work on those. Incidentally, that's one of the results. We did agree on that of our long-term discussions starting from 2015 when the process was first launched. There was an active discussion back in 2018 in the African Republic. In 2020, it was approved. We were saying that it's important for us to have this format to launch a single format of interaction. Our Sherpa was noted that the BRICS countries were welcoming this closer interaction. In 2021, in India, there was discussion of parameters. In 2022, in China, and we actually assumed special obligations prior in the run-up to the summit in Kazan to improve the mechanism. But the core thing is that we agreed that we're not going to have any delays, and those organizations that have been participating in conducting and coordination and promotion of civic process in this year, they are going to work on the format of interaction. We even have a plan of the key points to be discussed as priority, and then we'll work on the roadmap and also on the themes of discussions. But what's important is that we're all together on this. And then, of course, we're going to promote, or we'll try to have more active discussion, maybe, of some points that haven't been taken, perhaps, taken into account now in terms of different themes, perhaps maybe not enough understanding in some issues that maybe was not easy to clarify within half a year. Maybe it will be easier over a longer period of time when the groups are already well formed, which represents significant progress. I hope that all of us here share this opinion that for us it's an important step. We've seen institutionalization of the process of expert interaction. We've seen institutionalization of the interaction of business circles, which was also received support. This year's special year, it's full of challenges for us because Russia is the chair of this year. But it's really important because now we are twice as many in terms of our numbers, and we can't put off anymore closer interaction, organizing closer interaction between all the 10 members. So we're very hopeful that the leaders will support our aspirations and we'll be paying close attention going forward to the proposals coming from civil society from each country and from our joint group, from our joint family as a whole. There were very diverse subjects and themes. I do hope that Alexandrovich will talk more about values, how discussion was proceeding, because really one of the key topics was, despite the seeming obviousness, I mean, we all share such principles. You think there's not much to discuss. However, there are national traditions, national features, history, religion, and that determines somewhat different approaches towards how we can define and approach this particular parameter. The only thing that we can safely state now is that one cannot impose values that the West define those values. We reject this kind of imposition of values. And we believe that so-called liberal values, they are not universal in nature. That's important to state. So the efforts of the West have become tools and weapons of oppression and duress, and this is not acceptable at all. And then we go on to discuss what approaches also agree there's no one single path of development. The world is multilateral, diverse. Each nation, each people has a right to choose how they're going to develop. And within the framework of BRICS, within majority of the world countries, we can help each other without imposing this path. It's up to us to choose it, and then we agree on the ways of such interaction. Also, we agree that there cannot be the organizations that exist for them to be truly democratic. They need to be not under oppression of anybody, not as part of domination by one single hegemonic center. Let's not call any names. Everybody knows what we're talking about. So if an international organization wants to represent the entire world, it needs to represent the entire world. It's important. And we're also saying that, you know, together, jointly with TAS, we prepared a study earlier on hegemonism, and we are aware that globalism has emerged as a kind of a tool in preserving such domination, even though we're not denying at all the importance of global interaction, globalization per se. It's just that it's not this universal approach is not a necessary condition for such globalization. Each path of development, each approach is not an obstacle towards developing such mutually beneficial cooperation. Of course, the gross manifestation of such universalism is the imposition of culture canceling, which includes the cancellation of the highest achievements. It's not acceptable. It may concern any of us at any moment. So we absolutely cannot tolerate such imposition. The world should not be hostage of the obsessive striving towards domination, no matter on whose part. For us, particularly in current conditions, of course, we're talking about the West now, but in BRICS, there cannot be any imposition on the part of any side. This is actually what sets BRICS apart from any other entity. We're equal. We have no hierarchical order. We have the first economists of the world in our group, but they don't dictate any positions. It's absolutely equal, equitable dialogue. It's important. So there are more specific parameters too. Sure, that our colleagues will be telling us about those, but it's important to have this vision of how such civil interaction is developing within our association. So the task that was set for integration of new members, it seems to me it's been accomplished already, because besides, we simply know that 5 countries joined as of January 1st. In terms of our interaction, there's no such distinction. We already have very substantive discussion of all the points with all the members. There are no limitations there, and the forum of this year is just a continuation of the many years of tradition. Let me say again, we've made a very important step in terms of unification, establishing certain degree of institutionalization of a process in order to promote our ideas, to promote our proposals, and our concepts both within our countries in terms of interaction with the government, with authorities, but also externally in terms of the majority of countries. Thank you very much. Mr. Fadeev, Ms. Fadeeva mentioned that you might tell us more about the values. I wish I knew. We hope we know. Yes, as far as values, this very fairly pragmatic approach. So whilst there's a whole number of projects, political, economical, within the framework of BRICS, our matters are humanitarian matters and to some extent ideological matters. So the first point that we're discussing, there's a powerful system of the Western so-called non-governmental organizations that make marks of all the countries in terms of democracy, human rights, the media, and sort of ranging them one after another. There's definitely ideological propaganda type task that's being carried out by Western countries. So it's clear to everyone now that there are different values, there are different traditions, the different historical trajectories, different civilizations, if you will. And so imposition of one ideological picture is, to say that it's non-productive, to say the least. So our task is to create an alternative, not to range the countries one after another, but to set up a system of analysis which would reveal the experience of different countries. Let's take quite recently, actually, I did this myself. Look at the economic growth of different countries over the last few decades in the world, and I compare them with the ratings evaluations set out by so-called Western non-governmental organizations. So the first tops were China, Vietnam, Laos, the countries which had demonstrated gigantic economic growth, and those countries received the low material standards, but in spiritual terms, they received great advantages: education, being able to travel over the world, professions, careers. Many of those people became engineers, scientists. Are those things taken into account at all? No. If a political system of a country is not the kind as it's in the West, or not as it's believed in the West, of course, in the West there's huge issues with political systems too. So then result is a low grade, low mark, and based on that low grade or low rating, pressure is put on, in this case, on China, on any other countries. This needs to be stopped. And let me make a reference to President Putin, who, speaking last year at Valdai forums, put it in so many words: imposing on any people, on any country, how they're supposed to live, how they should feel. That should be banned and prohibited. So, proceeding from this, it should be prohibited. It's not to say that we need to support tyrannical regimes. There are different regimes that may exist. So that's the first point. One needs to set up this kind of alternative work, which would be alternative to the West. The second part of this activity, which I mentioned yesterday, and as we were preparing the civil forum, what we discussed with our colleagues from BRICS countries, we don't know each other well enough. So I believe we need to put a special emphasis on education, on school education. I believe we need to, of course, discuss this with all the members of the BRICS association to create one single field, maybe a fairly small educational space, which would represent the highest cultural achievements in terms of literature, let's say, of BRICS countries, which would be studied by all the school children in all the BRICS countries. One needs to aim at better understanding each other, starting from school educational programs. So that could be practically implemented. For this purpose, we are proposing setting up the Center for Humanitarian Development of the BRICS countries, which would be setting and implementing these types of tasks. Next is the cultural and natural heritage. There were examples, of course, there's UNESCO, international organizations that you would think is dealing with such tasks. For example, that was cited many times, there's a list of the facilities of cultural heritage and the BRICS countries that have the population of almost half of the world's population. And that list features the share of the BRICS countries is 16%. So the lion's share is Europe. Of course, Europe does boast of great culture, but China doesn't China have a great culture which dates 5,000 years? India doesn't have great culture, several thousand years old. So I don't want to accuse anyone, but this kind of bias, this Europe-centric, Western-centric bias, once again, Europe is a great culture. We, in many ways, to a great extent, also part of European culture. But if we proceed from the equity of all the equal value of all civilizations and peoples, one needs to be more delicate about approaching such issues. As far as ecology, environment, we're still in the Western agenda. Of course, climate, yes, this is an issue. Energy transition, let's take energy transition. What we are being taught, let's look at the Russian energy sector. Russian energy sector actually is the most environment friendly and most effective in the world, because we have atomic energy, nuclear energy, we have hydro energy, and we have the thermal energy, mostly relying on gas. This is the cleanest energy in the world. And what we're being told, so they need to learn lessons from us, not to teach us. Still, a greater share of responsibility for changing environment. So a great share of responsibility is put on Russia and poor countries, whilst the lion's share of pollution of the environment comes from rich countries. I already gave those examples. Emissions per person of carbon dioxide is not 9 tons a year the world over, but 300 tons per one American. So who is supposed to cut down on the not poor countries, obviously, but rich countries and people from rich countries? So we need to. There are proposals, and we need to change this agenda, take into account the interests of the BRICS countries, and this needs to be done by the council, that proposing council to develop cultural and nature heritage of the BRICS countries. Thank you. Mrs. PERYSHKINA, Mrs. PANOVA mentioned that it was a ninth forum. Maybe you could tell us what makes it different. Actually, it was a very interesting forum. It was expanded composition, 10 countries, even though we visited personally new countries, Victoria, Vladimir, and myself. We had meetings in new countries. So in order to be well integrated and to make everyone feel comfortable in this family, what makes it unique? For the first time in 10 years, maybe not the first time, but from the practical standpoint, this matter was set in practical terms. Like, we receive various recommendations. Let's say the results of the work of the 9 groups is a total of 160 pages. Of course, it will be appended to proposals for the leaders, and of course, 160 pages would be difficult to compress in 2 or 3 phrases or sentences. Also, there are initiatives setting up a humanitarian center, as was mentioned, the group for culture, the group for cultural exchange. Those are the initiatives that need to be implemented, and somebody needs to deal with this, needs to work on this. So for I cannot state this officially yet, but this decision has been taken, and there's a willingness to implement it prior to the summit in Kazan. So the association will be set up of representatives of the civil society of the BRICS countries, which as a full-fledged partner, will be responsible for continuity, for those initiatives that you've just heard of, for those initiatives not to be left undone or forgotten. Also, another political aspect. I worked on this for 30 years. People who have been long in civil society movement were all aware that in the beginning, when we were developing all this, there were lots of American donors and who were happy to provide their assistance to us. And this awareness that nobody gives you anything for free, that in reality all humanitarian assistance to poor countries, it's a very good mechanism for manipulation in order to promote interests of those countries, of states that are not friendly to us, let's say. This practice needs to be stopped. So we'll have an address saying that for the BRICS countries to set up a fund which would help to fund our initiatives we should not be dependent on Western countries. That's for sure. What makes our unique? Ours is in national organizations. We have no transnational organizations. We don't have any representatives of international agencies. It needs to be not strictly national organizations from Iran, from Saudi Arabia. No matter what kind of skeptical attitudes there may be, we were able to. Ours very interesting group. All people here have worked in this field for a long time and all prepared to put efforts into this for free in order to make us stable. That's, I guess, the main distinctive feature of us. Thank you very much. Mr. Vinnichuk, maybe you could talk about your role and your participation.
Thanking the Russian organization for all the efforts to bring the Brazilian delegation to Russia. It was a long trip. We spent almost 2 days traveling, and now I'm sorry, but I'm a bit jet lagged now. It's completely different time zone in Brazil, 6 hours different. So thank the Russian organizers of this event. It was a very good opportunity to meet the new members of the BRICS and to learn about the diversity of our cultures, of our languages, of our religious faiths, and everything that is included in societies that are vibrant and that are really trying to make a change in the international order, participating more. So I would start my comments saying that diversity is what unites us. This is completely different. I guess it's in total accordance with what was mentioned here before, but this is completely different from the Western model of including countries in their own organizations. I was just thinking about the process of expanding or enlargement of the European Union, that you had to have kind of exam, so that if you match all the prerequisites that the Europeans had, and that when you become more like an European, you would be accepted. This is something that, if you think through this idea of diversity, this goes and runs against that. And that's why Turkey is not a member of the European Union, because they never accept Turkey because Turkey is different. So you need to become like them to be a member of the grouping. BRICS is the other way. We emphasize since the beginning that we respect differences. So that's why there are more than 20 countries that want to become members of BRICS. And that's why we're accepting countries that are very different in nature. We have Muslim countries, Christian countries, Orthodox, Catholics, and we have different social values too. But we do respect each other because we understand the particularities and specificities of each country. And we do think that the world must reflect this diversity. So when it comes talking about the restructuring of the international order, of international economic structures, or power structures like the Security Council at the United Nations, we're talking about that. We need to have more room for those countries that were excluded because of colonial practice of the past and because of the way this rule-based order was constructed. So this is pretty clear, so that there's no mystery in why we like to be together. Of course, as Victoria mentioned, when we're going to negotiate a document, sometimes there are positions that are not in agreement with what, for instance, the civil society in Brazil, civil society in South Africa, things comparing to Saudi Arabia, or to the United Arab Emirates, or Russians, or Chinese. But then what we try to do, we try to reach a text that is a consensual one, and that represents those things that we are for. So the problem, as I mentioned during the event, the problem is not that we are different. This is our strength. The problem is the way we're going to tackle that difference. And this is the strategy that we need to choose, and we need to choose the strategy that put the things that unite us first, so that we can work on that. So this is the general idea. In terms of the Brazilian participation, and because we respect this difference, any country and any society in those countries had different processes of organizing the participation. In Brazil, we had sent invitations to more than 200 NGOs and institutions from society. We had more than 100 people participating in 18 working sessions to discuss the draft zero proposal that was offered by the Russian society. And so we've read the Russian proposal, we studied that, we debated with different representatives from civil society, indigenous people, descendants from slaves, people engaged in research at universities, and then we came up with our suggestions and we sent that to the working groups, and then we could debate and try to find a document. That's very interesting, and we could find in Brazilian society people that were legitimately interested in contributing to this process. And this is something that is very important to notice. That's why I totally support the idea of institutionalizing the civil BRICS to have financial autonomy from external actors. Because in Brazil, we have this which is a characteristic of the country, we need to respect that civil society is very permeated by interests of foundations from the US and from Europe. For instance, there's one association of national NGOs in Brazil that is funded by the European Commission. So they have their interests, it's legitimate, but they are going to support only the programs that they want to support. And sometimes the programs that we have in terms of BRICS, the things that unite us, are different. For instance, Brazil wants to become a member of the Security Council of the United Nations. Brazil wants to restructure the IMF, the World Bank. It wasn't possible because these countries didn't agree with that. So what happens? Brazil looks to Russia, to China, and to other countries to try to find an alternative. It's not something against the West, but it's something alternative to the West, because we need to be respected as a country that is important. At least we Brazilians think we're important. So this is, but in terms of civil society, then it's very, very, very complex, but it's very interesting to notice that there was the society supports the idea of Brazil participating in these forums and discussing these issues that are sensitive, but need to be discussed. So these are the main things that I'd like to share with you. And thank you very much again for all the hospitality of the Russian part. And you did a great job.
Спасибо. Спасибо большое, господин Амера. Пожалуйста, вам слово.
Thank you very much. I think first let me say a few words to thank the Russian counterparts. Really, the Ethiopian delegation would like to extend our heartfelt appreciation and gratefulness for the Russian side for the hospitality in receiving us here in Moscow, the beautiful city, which showed the civilization of the Russian people. So we are very much delighted to be part of this BRICS Civil Forum. So from the Ethiopia side, we have seen the current global political and economic order is not addressing challenges that the humankind are facing. Challenges are emerging, they are increasing, whereas the global political and economic order, they are not really addressing them. And the global order somehow as well puts many of us in the world in a disadvantageous position. So we have to look into a more just world, another global economic and political additional alternative economic political order that can help us in improving the global order for the benefit of not only for BRICS members, but the benefit of all humankind. In addition to that, BRICS platform is another opportunity. We would like to diverse our cooperation It helps us to diversify our cooperation with the countries and people of the world. So because of this reason, when the government of Ethiopia decided to join the BRICS platform, and when we got acceptance and officially joined BRICS in January 1st of 2024, the applaud and the happiness from the people of Ethiopia, from the civil society sector in Ethiopia was magnificent. We are very much happy to join this important platform. We believe the BRICS contribute to the development of Ethiopia. We said we are in the quest of developing Ethiopia. We are in the quest of building a stronger nation, a prosperous nation, so that the BRICS will help us in achieving our aspired development. The principles that is in place in BRICS, the principles of the truly accepting our sovereignty and the accepting and practicing the principle of non-interference, as well as the decision-making process, a consensus-based decision-making process without any other political or economic conditions attached with it, that really attracts the people of Ethiopia, the civil society sector of Ethiopia. So we believe we have a shared vision in the BRICS, which is not only for the BRICS member states. We think and we believe BRICS is inclusive, and the shared vision is to make the world better for member states of BRICS and for all humankind. So with that understanding, really we have been actively participating in the BRICS forums. We are trying to exerting maximum efforts to well integrate with the BRICS system. When it comes to civil society organizations in Ethiopia, for the last 4 or 5 years, with the initiative of our Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, we have been engaging into a massive reform toward the civil society sector. We did policy, legal, and operational reforms. So civil society organizations, they are considered as a pillar in building a stronger nation. Even they are not a gap filler. They are strategic partner, strategic pillar in the development of Ethiopia. So we need to build a sustainable, strong civil society organizations, specifically strong local civil society organizations that can ensure the maximum public benefit of Ethiopians, a vibrant, a thriving, and a demand-driven civil society organization. Civil society organizations have to, they have to face or they have to provide support for challenges of the people. So everything has to be demand-driven. So in that purpose, in order to build a stronger civil society sector, BRICS has to create a platform, and we have BRICS Civil Forum. And we are trying to mobilize all civil society organizations in Ethiopia to be active participants in this BRICS Civil Forum. And through the process for the 9th BRICS Civil Forum, we have been civil society organizations. We have an umbrella of civil society organizations in Ethiopia. We have a civil society council, and we have been discussing, interacting about the agenda items of this 9th BRICS Civil Forum. And we found it very much interesting and aligned with the interest of the civil society organization in Ethiopia. In any way, participating through the BRICS Civil Forum will help us to establish a stronger people-to-people tie, people-to-people cooperation, partnership, and also it will give opportunity for Ethiopian civil society organizations to work in collaboration for the betterment of member states of BRICS, including Ethiopia. So we are participating very well in this situation. In my stay in the 2 days stay in the BRICS Civil Forum, 9th Civil Forum, I have been co-chairing the Ecology, Energy Transition and Social Justice Working Group, representing the Ethiopian delegation. We believe we came up with outcomes. We have had a very interactive discussion. Representatives from member states have been contributing in the discussion, expertise in the area, university professors they have been raising many issues, and we have recorded that. We have come up with an outcome. It will be presented to the leaders of BRICS. We think that our proposals, our outcomes of this discussion will help us to establish, to see a more just, a more inclusive world. Thank you very much.
Спасибо большое. Спасибо вам огромное, и господин Матлала. Вас тоже хотелось бы услышать. Пожалуйста.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maklama. I would like to hear from you too.
And let me start by appreciating the organizers of Civil BRICS and again the Russian BRICS Sherpa. It is quite an important element that you have the Sherpa here, because they represent the heads of states and what goes into the main agenda of the heads of states. So we hope some of our agendas will be able to see the light of day in the agenda of the heads of states. BRICS is about mutual respect. I think a lot has been said here, but more so it's about consensus. I mean, again, my colleagues have mentioned that BRICS works on consensus, and even in this particular forum, there were certain elements where there were no consensus, and we did not move with that. And that shows the mutual respect and consensus that we work on. So there's no voting, there's no veto power there. From this forum, since the establishment of Civil BRICS in 2015, which was initiated by our friends from Russia, we've been talking about the governance structure of Civil BRICS. And if you look at other BRICS tracks, like your BRICS Business Council, your BRICS Business Women Alliance, Think Tank Council, and now recently, which was endorsed by heads of states in 2023 Johannesburg Summit, is the BRICS Youth Council. And the only track that has remained outside is Civil BRICS. And I think it is important that this year we ensure that that endorsement we get. What is important is that we all agree that we need a governance structure. What we need to discuss in the next couple of weeks is the mechanism in unpacking that. But all the member states have agreed to establish this governance structure. And I think the other thing it's about what is important is the Civil BRICS fund. That is a member state driven and funded because of, if you look at, for example, when we hosted the Civil BRICS in South Africa last year as the chair, we struggled with funding. And we ended up not getting all the member states that, in terms of the numbers that we wanted to participate in the Civil BRICS processes. We also did not do the consultations as we did, national consultations as we did in 2018 chairship because of lack of funding. And we did not want to go out and seek funding where it will come with certain conditions. So we stick to at least having the main forum. But the establishment of this fund, it is really very important. And what we've also agreed on is the alternative financial systems, you know, the use of local currencies. And also, I'll just give you an example, you know, with the current sanctions that are happening, if you previously, you would come to Russia with your Visa card and you can spend anything and anywhere you want. But currently, we are not able to do so. And we know that between Russia and South Africa, they don't sell rand or rubles. Now, what needs to happen is that I need to withdraw South African rands, exchange it into dollars, which charges commissions. And when I land in Moscow, exchange it in rubles, which charges commission. Therefore, 40% of of a civil society and an ordinary citizen is gone to these fees and commissions. It is wrong. We cannot, as BRICS member states, saying we are BRICS member states and we've got alternatives, and still remain to use this expensive model of transactions and making money. So we need to fast track the process of either the utilization of local currencies, not only on trade, but even for for students, because we've got a number of students from Africa that are struggling with funds, exchange, and all of that. So it's quite difficult. We also need to fast track the BRICS pay that we've been talking about since also 2015 by the BRICS Business Council. Colleagues, let me pause there and just to say, to thank everyone who participated in the process, and also thank our Russian friends for their hospitality. Thank you so much.
Спасибо большое. Уважаемые коллеги, пришло время для ваших вопросов.
Thank you, dear colleagues. This is the time for questions, if you have any questions. If there are questions, I'll put a question which I received online. Let me also mention that we work online, so feel free to send your question online via social media, where you can also watch the recording. Now, the question for Mr. Fadeev. Here's the question. Maybe you could talk us about the multi-sectoral interaction on the national level between the services of education, healthcare, and social security, and also local municipalities in order to create favorable conditions where children and young people could study and develop. Here we go. Did you understand the question? Overall, yeah, it sounds general, but it's fairly clear. I found it kind of difficult to grasp it. It suggests a whole report. What is multi-sectoral cooperation? It's a very complex question, actually. I mean, it's not. You can't just take all the existing and functioning, well or poorly functioning international institutions and to replace them. One should not do that because some international institutions are more efficient, others less efficient. We shouldn't break anything down. We should create and set up new things, new entities which would help improve life in our countries. As for what appears to be the meaning of the question, let's say yesterday a colleague from India, an outstanding translated many books. He actually wrote a poem in Russian, and he read his poem in Russian. He's a translator. He knows Russian so well. But let me say that this is the heritage of the Soviet times, because back in the Soviet times, there was a whole stream, or huge stream of students from other countries. Now we also have lots of foreign students in Russia, a total of 60,000 students from Africa alone. The Soviet Union had lots of defects, but lots of achievements. That was one of the achievements, such exchange of young people with developing, emerging countries primarily. I believe we don't have enough of such stream. I've never been to Brazil, for instance. Even though Brazil, I don't think Brazil had any sanctions against me. I can't travel to Europe, but maybe I could travel to Brazil. It would be important.
The route lies through.
И надо увеличивать вот это.
So we need to increase this exchange. We need to increase the stream of young people, and not only young people, not just because if it was just young people, I'll never get to go to Brazil if it only covers young people. So we need to be moving in that direction. So we need to create this new ideology in a positive sense of the word. What we're discussing here, all of us, no imposition, not looking for any enemies or any intrigues, but the most important thing is respect. This is the word. Respect should become the main word, and it is the main word in our interaction, then all the multi-sectoral issues will be resolved well enough. Dear colleagues, this brings to a close our event. I thank you for coming here, and our esteemed experts for sharing their opinions. We'll be happy to see you on our platform again. Thank you. Thank you.